We're going to wrap up this winter season with the ultimate end-all, be-all geek debate of Star Trek versus Star Wars. We have a wonderful set of questions, and if you guys have anything you want to add, you can message us on Facebook, or you can call the studio. The phone number will be up on the screen momentarily. But we want to really get straight to it, so we're going to start by introducing our participants. For the Star Trek side, we have the Ark Angel Station. I keep wanting to call you Space Station Archangel. So let's meet our Star Trek contestants.
Captain Baxter.
Captain Baxter.
Just the captain.
Just the captain.
Commander Christopher Hunter. I'm a professor of military science at Starfleet Academy.
Nice.
I'm still Chris Rachel. You're stuck with me over here.
And
I'm Lieutenant Lady Ranger. I'm the ops officer on the station.
Commodore Sorak.
Christina Hunter.
Lieutenant Junior Grade Radwolf.
And for our Star Wars side, don't all talk at once, guys.
Lord Strife of the Dark Empire.
Darth Raddick.
Master Kiran from the Jedi Order.
And Padawan, older middle-aged Lino.
Ho! And on Skype, we have another Star Wars participant. Who are you?
Call me Coin Smuggler.
All right, so this is how we're going to run this debate. The Star Trek people, well, I keep wanting to call you Trekkie, sorry. It's just a force of habit. I'm trying not to do it. We'll answer first for the even questions. The Star Wars will answer first for the odd questions. You can debate, and you will have a rebuttal period where we'll go back and forth, and if it happens to degrade into an all-out fist fight, so be it. We're going to start this off with, I think the Star Wars guys are outnumbered in this fist fight, though. I'm not going to lie. So we're going to start with question number 1. Y'all ready? This is for the Star Trek crew to start with. The ships. It all comes down to the ships. Who has the better ships and who would win in an all-out battle of firepower?
Gentlemen.
Well, I think that the Star Trek ships would win in an all-out battle of firepower, just because we have phasers that would be able to destroy their ships fairly easily. We also have shields that are multiphasic, so that the lasers are not even an issue. They're weapons that don't.
You know, I can't think of a single Star Trek ship that can be defeated by one guy who's just gonna just slide right down that one giant gaping hole, you know, in their major Death Star thing.
2 meters. Well, and we wouldn't even have to bother with that, since we can
2
attack
meter wide?
it faster than light speed. We just keep zooming around them at warp and shooting them, and they can't even see us to do anything.
That is correct. Starfleet vessels can engage in combat at faster than light speeds, which is something that Star Wars vessels are not capable of. To move from star system to star system, they have to drop into hyperspace. They're unable to fight. Star Trek vessels, however, can engage in combat at any hyperlight speed.
But they do have cool sound effects.
They do have cool sound effects. All right. Star Wars side.
Okay, first off, I just want to make a rebuttal about the Death Star comment. We fixed that.
Really?
Now it's big enough for a whole ship to fly in. We fixed that with the second Death Star. No.
And then we fixed that problem by putting it into an actual Star Destroyer.
No, actually completing it.
It was actually a completed Star Destroyer. It has a laser weapon, and the only thing that killed it was R2-D2 by ramming another super weapon into it.
I'm very proud of your basic powers of observation after your thing got destroyed. Now go on, tell us more about how your ships are lovely.
The sheer amount of firepower coming off an Imperial Star Destroyer can destroy anything you can throw at it.
You mean the focused light that you can bounce with a mirror?
By the 2360s, our navigational deflectors can deflect lasers.
There are also kinetic weapons on some of our other ships.
Ooh, it's touching me, it's touching me.
Kinetic weapons can go through shields.
Be able to hit it first.
We could just send out a fleet of TIE bombers and just bomb the hell out of you.
Oh, because
Yes,
we have
yes.
mines, right?
Yeah, you already got so many phaser points.
TIE bombers
So you got
have
like
no
10
shields whatsoever.
Wait, why don't we just send out some of their red guys, since we can capture them easily?
Oh, shit.
Yes.
He's got a good point.
Remember, in every episode, there's only one red guy you capture.
But here's the other
Every
thing.
episode, you kill one.
So when
And
every
we
time you
have
warp in,
replicators, so we can just make more.
Yeah, it's true.
And
We
our
do
red
replicate the
shirts
red
can
guy.
actually occasionally hit what they shoot at.
Okay, rebuttal to that one.
Well, so
Your ships cannot stand up against fighters. Your ships are made for ship-to-ship combat.
and we got confirmation.
Well, your ship-
Jemadar versus a Enterprise. I think it was an Odyssey. Buckablooey.
The Jim Hadar ships weren't firing focused light lasers.
True, but we ran into it. The Dacre ran into it. It means we could toss off fighters. Which we got our very high supply of stormtroopers, Jedi fighters.
Yeah, we can clone ours. We got endless supply.
We have ships devoted entire. We have entire planets.
And running into each other.
Star Destroyers running into each other, chasing the Millennium Falcon. They are good at running into things. We'll give you that.
But I gotta say, that's the beauty of cloning that's in the Star Wars universe that I don't think Star Trek has. So that's one good thing we got on our fighters and also on our ships.
So they've got more suicide bombers, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but the Star Trek universe did invent genetically engineered clones in the 1980s.
True, but they're not part of the, I guess they're, we're talking about, are they in starships?
When they steal them, Reliant was crewed entirely by clones.
So I'm going to give
A lot of damage up until we shut them down.
this one's definitely going to the Star Trek side. You guys made a much better debate over your weapons. I mean, let's face it, y'all ships drive into each other doesn't exactly stand up for a good argument.
Yeah, but at least we have entire planets devoted to building ships.
Yep.
So we can easily replace anything.
We've got replicators.
Because you need that many people to figure out how to do it.
The Empire's buzzing us with TIE fighters.
So what's our next question, good dumb?
I wish they would quit.
So question number 1 goes to the Star Trek team. Question number 2, this is going to be the Star Wars team to start off with. The aliens. The universe is full of them, but who has the better aliens in their universes?
Well, Star Wars by far.
Explain.
Just look at Jabba's palace. You can't beat a better collection of Muppets.
Don't forget the Mos Eisley Cantina. That one was full of aliens of all sorts and sizes. One of them even lost his arm.
Then you got the Jedi Order that got different alien types that are Jedi, that can fight. And our warriors, put much just hands out there, we got better aliens. We got more of them.
And we even got an extragalactic species that's so ruthless that we nearly died to them.
And who are they?
The Yuzon Vong.
Span the universe.
What do you guys have to say?
For multi-dimensional beings, I mean, we have the Q, we have the Traveler, we have several. I mean,
Trelane, we have the Borg, and further
Trill.
the Trill.
And while
The
your
spots go all the
characters
way
may
down.
have a lot of a myriad of different looks and interesting
We got Twi'leks.
looks, our characters generally have a lot of depth because they have a lot more stories that are devoted to the races of the Star Trek universe.
And I've got to say,
haven't read the
the
books
races
yet.
of the Star Wars universe, it's a little embarrassing, guys. Come on. I mean, oh no, the people that are always greedy and have the large noses are Jews. Oh no, the floppy guy with the giant ears is Jamaican, and it's obvious they don't have any education or intelligence. All the aliens of Star Trek tend to be really embarrassing.
I believe you're
Don't you mean
referring
Star
to Jar
Wars?
Jar Binks. We tracked him down and killed him.
it is all fairly two-dimensional.
I'm sorry, are you calling a Ferengi a Jew?
I wouldn't to his face.
I'm not saying that they're completely innocent on the Star Trek side either, but there does tend to be a lot more actual attempt at character development. And one of the things that I do find a bit off-putting, honestly, about Star Wars is the fact that, man, especially with the second trilogy, all the aliens are just really horrible caricature stereotypes of various races.
The Trade Federation and the Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all.
It's black and
In
white.
some of the cases, you could take some of those characters, you could put a cardboard cutout in there, and you've covered pretty much the multidimensionality of it.
Also, the Star Trek universe hired Mark Ockrand, a linguistics professor, to create a functional language for the Klingons. George Lucas played the Quechua Indian language backwards and forwards to create his alien languages, like all of them.
Oh, really?
So our Skype participant, what do you want to say about this?
Good arguments on both sides, but I'd still give it for Star Wars for structural variety, as opposed to most of the races in Star Trek are your basic bipedal, but I think Star Wars had a lot more variety. And as far as depth of character, read a lot of the books too, the Star Wars paperback books and everything out there. It really goes into depth on a lot of the characters, the races, the history, the culture behind the races, and all that.
So you're saying that the Star Trek has more variety? I mean, Star Wars has more variety than Star Trek.
Star Wars has giant slug people.
That's not helping.
They're called Huts.
Star Trek has the
Care Bears for spies.
I will actually completely give you guys that one as far as the use of puppets. I really did like that in Star Wars. I liked Farscape for that as well,
I love Farscape.
because it's wonderful.
It's a wonderful, wonderful show. Anything last words you guys want to say about your aliens?
I also want to make one comment about the Borg. Who exactly invented the Borg? Because I remember seeing them in Captain EO, a George Lucas creation.
Well, I want to add on to it, the Risa versus Jabba's palace with Leia's suit. I guess when she was doing undercover work. Imagine more girls besides that. We beat your hands down because of that.
Oh yeah, Prince Zizor's eyes.
We're going there.
Yes, we're going there.
No.
Hold on.
And before the Trek, and before our Trek
They have a
companions make,
response.
before the Trek companions start parading about
Science
Princess Leia in a
officer, chief
bikini,
medical officer.
you guys have the Orion slave girls. Thank you.
All right.
You know what? But we're also allowed to do things other than that as the lady folk. Because, you know, if you're in the... Let us move this one a little closer over here. If you're in the Star Wars universe and you happen to have a vagina, you are allowed to either be a princess, a prostitute, or a princess who part-times it as a prostitute. And if you're not any of those, Lucas doesn't want you around. He made that very,
Mon Mothma.
very clear.
Mon Mothma, leader of the rebellion. Thank you.
Ooh, 5 whole lines that almost no one can remember her name unless they're completely obsessed. Go out on the street and try and find someone who remembers anyone other than Leia and maybe Luke's uncle, or aunt rather. And
Okay, go on the street and find someone that knows someone besides Lieutenant Uhura.
7 of 9. That's still one.
Another one with big boobs. Thank you.
Troy, Hoshisato,
Yeah.
T'Pol.
Every
Another one that had a near sex scene on TV. Thank you.
not only multiple women, women in an actual position of control and power, women who actually have job options other than, hey, would you like to see what's between my legs? Because that's really her only job option.
Geordi's mother was captain of a Star.
Leia became an ambassador and led the New Republic for a while, despite Imperial attempts to assassinate her.
Completely off screen. Can't show a woman actually doing anything that could possibly be useful. And heaven forbid, in the second trilogy, what's the actual purpose of Queen Amidala? She's spending literally half her day getting into a ritualized uniform. That's not someone that's not something you do if you're actually in a position of authority. You don't see world leaders today dressed up in kabuki makeup because it takes all your damn day.
Well, technically, she wasn't always dressed up as that. That was her double. She was always dressed up as one of the.
Because if you want someone to believe that she's actually in a position of power and doing something, she either has to have a double because there aren't enough hours in the day to be all that pretty, or are you serious? That is your actual argument.
She was under threat of assassination, so she was using a double.
Who also had to spend all day long getting dressed up like that because her position.
At least it's not the actual queen getting dressed up like that, and she can actually go about and do stuff with her people. Like try and get the Trade Federation off her planet.
Well,
basically, it
all happens in a galaxy long ago and far away. Look at the queens of Europe back in the 1700s, 1600s, 1500s. They all dressed up. They all took them forever to put on makeup
I'm
and
not saying
wigs.
a little bit of makeup is a bad thing. I've got a little bit of makeup on right now.
I will agree, though, that Queen Amidala's getup was a little over the top.
Had equal amounts of dressing up that they did as part of their ritualized behavior. And as they became less and less important over time, they became more and more ritualized in their look. You can tell who's actually a ruling monarch based almost entirely on how ritualized their costumes are. Look it up.
What do you have to say?
Just basically, it's the Star Trek characters. You have more depth. You actually see them when they're high, when they're happy, when they're sad. They show the same feelings, but they overcome them. You have women, men, different races that are actually working together and building things, and not just being a cookie cutter. I'm a bad guy, I'm a good guy. Well,
black hat, white hat.
Yes, exactly.
Don't be like you did by the lake on Naboo.
And it's like, yes, if you're a woman, you definitely want to be on Star Trek because you can actually be in charge.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have something to say about that.
Yes, please.
The reason why you probably have a little bit more depth in Star Wars is because you have TV shows.
Thank you.
You don't really have a movie that's about an hour and a half to 2 hours long to fill out an entire story. You have several seasons of a TV show where you can do that.
Well, let's go ahead and just limit it to the Star Trek movies for a second then. I can do that. Are you guys
But the
cool
Star
with
Trek
that?
movies are coming off of an established canon from the TV series.
I'm going to counter that with every single time you guys say, oh, but what about the extended universe? Really?
So I'm going to give the aliens to the Star Wars side because it's sheer variety, but the feminines inside still goes to Star Trek because they have more approachable characters.
Yeah.
Chris Rachel can talk a bunch about that. So we're going to go to topic number 3, which is going to be for the Star Trek guys to start with. The settings. No good story is good. No good story is good without a good setting and a setup and a plot. Who has the better stories, epic-wise, and who has the better plots?
Well, I think Star Trek has an applicability to the audience because it takes place in the conjectural future of the here and now, as opposed to a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
And it's really not one story. It's the continuation of our species as it is depicted at that time. It's lots of stories, multiple subplots, all kinds of things are going on at all the time. Whereas the Star Wars is one story that runs from start to finish. You got your black hat, your white hat, and what happens between.
Plus, it tends to be a positive view of the universe, whereas in the Star Wars universe, it's more of a matter of survival against the Empire.
Yeah, and then the Roddenberry universe, the Roddenberry universe in general, the IDIC, the ideas behind, the infinite diversity and infinite combinations. The whole purpose of the stories was to expose a better way for people to be, and a better moral structure to try and follow.
And anyone in the Star Trek universe could try their hand at bettering things. They didn't have to be born with magical midichlorians to make themselves heroes.
Our Skype guest, do you have a comment about this?
Well, as far as the storyline goes, I try not to limit it there. I mean, the books do get into some depths and stuff, but Star Trek was an idealized version, whereas I think you get more of the depth and storyline with the Star Wars. You've got more gray shades of gray with the characters and the plot, especially when you get into like the books and storylines that followed up through there.
Pyro's mic? Oh no.
I mean, an idealized universe almost fine, but
Okay, so let's go back to the Star Trek table Star Wars table since we had to move some mics around real quick. Your guys' thoughts on stories. Who has the better stories and why?
Well, I think it depends really on what it is you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking for something that's going to be a happy ending story where, everything works out in the end, and, the Klingons are our allies now. We beat the Borg, now they're our allies. We beat the Cardassians, now they're our allies. Yeah, Star Trek is the better story. I mean, they also have tons more hours worth of stories to play with. But for Star Wars, yes, it is a single universe with an overarching story, but we have individual stories inside those as well. If you want to compare TV show to TV show, the Clone Wars has lots of individual stories based around individuals in the galaxy.
I'm going to sound like a traitor over here with this, but something that I think both sides have as a weakness, that I will try and be even-handed for once. For both universes, there's... Thank you.
We better write this down. This won't happen very often, y'all.
In both universes, the planets all tend to be portrayed as just one thing. Hoth, the ice planet, the planet of the crazy Native Americans in the 70s, for Star Trek. There's almost no appreciation of the fact that, wow, if you move up and down, latitude, longitude, these things might affect the local climate on a planet. Either one. In both universes, it's really just meant to symbolize, here's this one plot point we want to make right now, boom, that's what you got. And so for science fiction, for me, it would be nice if something other than these two, because that's what they do, could get out there, and I'm talking to you, Sci-Fi Channel, and maybe show some planets that have, people that look a little different that live on the same planet, or people that have maybe a storm over here and a warm weather over there on the same world. My goodness, the thought.
I could say we probably Star Wars did a little bit of that.
Oh, really? Seriously?
The planet Naboo, the Gungans, and you had Senator Palpatine and her people.
True.
The Nabonians. So
Above and below water, yes.
Yeah, they were just underwater people versus the same people on the same planet. They did have somewhat of a season because you did see the telling of that when she died and they buried her. It was a different season there, and it's more dark. So you do see different types of seasonal. So we do show a little bit, but it's I want to say.
And we've got Black Vulcans.
Yeah, and it's
and Asian Vulcans.
That's true.
And Hawk,
City
can
in the
explain
Cloud.
why it's so cold? It is pretty far away from its system sun.
I was making fun of our side too. That really is an even-handed.
It is pretty even.
I think with planets having just one type of environment is just to make it simplistic and,
Yeah, for the
and
plot point.
acceptable for the viewing public.
Yeah.
And for all we know, Coruscant used to have more than one
Stir
environment.
more controversy, Gavin.
So this is going to be a draw on the settings because you both seem to have really good valids, and they kind of, thanks to Chris Rachel, derailed y'all from winning. You can punch her later. So we're going to go to question number 4, which is going to be for the Star Wars guys to start off with. We're going to talk about the heroes and villains because there is nothing more driving to a series than its good guys and its bad guys. Why do you guys think you have the better ones?
As in heroes and villains?
Yeah, heroes and villains.
Well, I'll say the heroes because, Luke Skywalker was...
Hey, hold on, I got it. You can name more of them in the Star Wars universe than in Star Trek.
Oh my goodness.
Hold that thought.
Oh, you're inviting
Hold that thought. Let him continue.
Hold it. If I may say something also, we also did have some couple of our good guys go to bad guys, so you still could probably name some others.
Anakin, Boba Fett, IG-88, Dengar.
There you go.
Gary Mitchell, Lieutenant Valeris.
So
Darth Vader, Moff Tarkin.
Well, ours are iconic.
Why are they iconic?
Because Captain Picard, there's nothing iconic about that. Or Captain Cook. Oh my Kirk.
But I say this: who dresses up as Captain Picard or Darth Vader? Who's gonna flock into who?
All right. So why do you think your characters are iconic? And let's get the Skype participant. What are your thoughts about the characters, good guys and bad guys?
Star Wars definitely got a bit more of the iconic, especially the villains.
I love the eye patch, by the way.
Well, that's what you get when you go running with Vibro scissors. It's your idea. But we definitely, I'd say Star Wars has the better, more iconic heroes and villains. Star Trek has its iconic heroes especially, but when it comes to the villains, you don't have that many memorable ones. They're usually hearing on, but the closest you get is Khan from Star Trek. That's really iconic. And from the series, you got Q. He was pretty iconic and well known.
Ah, that's horrible writing.
But we got Darth Vader, who's universally known as being the badass of the universe.
So now we're going to take it to the Star Trek side. Why do you think you guys have the better heroes and villains?
I'm sorry, did I need to repeat that?
You know what I say?
That's your whole argument.
No.
I was about to say.
As they were sitting there claiming that we didn't actually have any villains, like, boys and girls.
We never said
There's
that.
lots. No,
Yes, please
there's
take
actually
it.
lots. It's just they're very multi-dimensional, and that's the issue between Star Wars and Star Trek is the fact that all of our villains actually have a humanistic side. They're not just a black hat cookie cutter bad guy.
But give them some names because they're claiming that you can't
Look
really.
at Q, for instance. Q's considered a villain, and yet he's helped out humanity several times.
Then he's
Well,
not
he
a
screwed him
villain.
over at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
Q
the
is
nature of
Q is more
Q,
of a
But you also have
and you can't
Khan,
trust them.
What about
Q is
Trelane?
you have
Colonel
Trelane.
Green.
Did Luke Skywalker fight a god twice? Captain Kirk did.
Yes. He wiped out the Tushna.
Studio audience
That's
said yes.
Captain
Okay.
Kirk is full
Hold
of
on.
himself.
Wiped out
Studio
the
audience,
Tushna.
you said yes. Go to the mic and tell me why you said yes.
Recently, Star Wars Expanded Universe has introduced god figures into the Expanded Universe canon that have appeared both in the books and in the Clone Wars TV series.
Indeed, they did.
Which were fought by Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi during the Clone Wars span.
Okay, so apparently they do have god characters.
So, but we can get back to the heroes really easily
Yeah.
because they were bringing that up. Like, let's see, can we just start with our list of captains? Because as far as like heroes being something like the men want to be and the ladies want to do, let's start with Kirk. Let's start with Picard. Let's start with Cisco. Oh my goodness, please let's start with Cisco. Would you like to add on to the? Oh my goodness, we
Janeway?
don't have any heroes.
Captain Janeway.
Captain Janeway.
Jonathan Archer.
Spock.
And that's just starting with the
Mr.
captains.
Spock.
Let's move it down.
I'm sorry. He said iconic
Exos who
heroes.
are also hero types.
Oh, are you going to excuse me, because you and I can have a discussion about this. Are you going to sit here and claim that Kirk and Picard are not iconic?
No, I will grant you Kirk and Picard. I will not grant you Captain Cisco.
Really?
How? Why not? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it because he's black? Is that your problem? Because heaven forbid you actually
Lando
have someone
Calrissian. Thank you.
Oh, wow, we named the one black character.
Mace Windu. Mace Windu. We'll kick any of your asses
One
any
per
day
trilogy.
of the week.
Oh, I forget how diverse they are. You know.
Yeah. One per trilogy, one female, one black character.
Oh, someday maybe they'll have an Asian.
Possibly.
They did. They were those Trade Federation people.
No, they did. He crashed.
That was the
Asian one that
stereotype,
crashed
though.
into the executor.
We want to start out that. We started with a Russian and Asian.
Oh my.
All right, so you know what? They win that one just from that line right there again. Say it again.
Really? The Emperor?
Yeah.
You're gonna throw that away from the Emperor and Darth Vader?
Oh my! That wins every single time. If you have ever seen the video where Captain Sulu is reading 50 Shades of Grey, you would understand.
I would say that's a turn-off.
Villains.
Absolutely.
I would say that.
You middle guy.
All right, so
Give them the heroes. We'll take the villain side. You got fair.
That's fair trade.
actually, they do have better villains. I'm not gonna lie. I like the Borg,
Grievous,
but I can't
you know.
name any Star Trek villains off the top of my head outside of them.
Borg and Khan.
Klingon, Green,
Yeah.
Romulans.
So good guys,
Well,
bad
not
guys.
racist.
Yeah, but Romulans
one
are
villain, not a group
great.
of villains.
All right, so we're on to the next question. This is going to start with the Star Trek group,
In the Romulan Senate, there were.
which you might really like this one. It's about the technology.
Oh, we win.
The future is bright, but which side gives us a better technological future?
Oh my goodness, replicators.
Yeah, I think the Roddenberry universe by far shows a much brighter future that's not, subservient to a single-minded emperor type, or just
Holodecks,
Transporters and replicators.
Transporters, yeah. I don't really. I have those three. I
Yeah,
just don't ever
the idea that the Earth has eliminated all of the different problems,
poverty
and the idea for money,
Yeah.
the whole position of the ability for avarice.
Yeah, we're all living in David Brin's future with that, and David Brin's got a pretty happy future with these things.
And if I hurt myself in the Star Wars universe, I'm going to soak in a Bacta tank for 3 weeks. Whereas they can pull out a medical transporter, scan me, cure me, I'm on my way.
Yeah, but then you don't get that lovely 3 weeks off and about the tank.
Yeah, and it's also paid.
Treated by Dr. Crusher.
And you can spend your time off in a holodeck with whoever you want.
I know you'd be having Captain Sisko.
And truly, in the,
Some little,
in the
okay.
Roddenberry universe of the next gen, it's all about improving oneself. So if you're laying around in water, you're not really improving yourself all that much.
You guys, Star Wars. What do you guys say about your technology?
Our technology is the used technology. Like, it's stuff that's functional. It looks functional. It looks like it
Chop off a
belongs in
hand,
the
get a
world.
replacement hand.
Yeah.
I will admit, having a robot hand would be pretty cool.
Some of the stuff in the Star Wars universe is more realistic.
Have able to have a
You
breathing
can't-
condition and have wear a environmental suit and you can still walk around in.
You can't
Almost
heal
better than
yourself.
I'm
instantly.
sorry,
Hold on.
robot hand, entire robot character.
We have entire robot characters too.
Grievous.
Ours can
IG-88.
manage better than a shuffle.
Who's actually is a species, but
I think because
intelligent.
Star Wars is more of a space fantasy, whereas Star Trek is more science fiction, the technology is going to go to Star Trek. Only because it's based in a reality that you can get to. Whereas with Star Wars, again, it's a space fantasy. There is stuff that we can develop because it's great ideas, but there isn't a basis of the technological fact to get from point A to point B.
Our Skype participant, what do you want to say about technology? Obviously, it can't fix your eye.
Space fantasy, but in Star Trek, they got the technology so advanced that it's based on theory. We might be able to get there, but it almost borderlines on magic. I mean, you've got replicators that can make stuff literally appear out of nothing.
Oh, darling.
And I know
darling, no. Physics right now is actually working on a whole lot of these problems. Are you familiar with any of the 3D printers? For example, the one right now that you can actually draw in 3 dimensions with a giant freaking pin. It's amazing. The iPad. It looks almost embarrassingly like technology from Star Trek. It's so much of, we're really propelling things. Not just Star Trek, but science fiction in general is great at propelling our ideas of what technology can actually do. And that's something I don't see coming out of Star Wars for the exact reasons you mentioned. Very valid. It's space fantasy. It's out there to give you that very medieval kind of feel.
You're looking at a lightsaber, it carries a pocket fusion to power it.
Yeah, I don't think that can be made.
Yeah, that's not going to be made anytime soon.
Yeah, but I'm going to be in the middle ground here on this one. But both series have influenced the evolution of technology as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've made compelling arguments for the Star Trek tech. Well, I haven't seen Star Wars tech, push like iPads and stuff.
Fantasy stuff. We can't.
Yeah.
It looks really cool, but
It does. I'll give you that
You're
much.
saying that you're like the steampunk of this realm.
Yeah.
It looks cool, but don't try to use it, please.
some of the stuff in there can be used, like the fighters and the ships. They can theoretically be made. But the hyperdrive and everything, that has nothing on warp, which they've actually proved that warp is actually feasible.
I mean, let's be honest. Do you really think an X-wing fighter is going to be able to fly in an atmosphere without having its wings sheared off?
But it just looks cool.
It just looks cool.
Which one?
The X-wing fighter.
Yeah.
There's no way we could fly in an atmosphere.
Here we go back to the
Starship can land.
I think they've
the
actually
entire
conceded
No,
that point.
if we make some certain modifications to the actual X-wing design, it probably could fly in atmosphere, just the way it's designed.
But it had the what do you call it, approach lift type technology that when it it could fly.
I'm going to give this one to the Star Trek people because they have influenced an awful lot of what we have today. I didn't really I didn't think about it till you had to talk about it that way.
It's okay. Sometimes you think about things when other people tell you to.
No, you're making me go crazy, man. All right, so now we're going to start with the Star Wars group. This is about video and TV. Which series comes across better as movies and TV? Or which one works better in what format? Let's put it that way as well.
The Star Wars movies work better as movies.
Is that what's wrong with the holiday special?
Yeah. Do not mention that name to us.
Let me say, they cannot be
Family
blamed
adventure they're talking
for
about?
the,
That was horrible too.
They cannot be blamed for that. I'm joining you in saying we're just going to be in total denial of the Star Wars holiday special. Everybody agree? La 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 la.
No,
Star
I
Wars
saw
holiday
it. It's
special.
embedded in my memory. I cannot burn it.
Some things can never be unseen.
won't judge
The
you
holiday
for it.
special
That's
is
what
great
I'm
when you
saying.
want to get rid
I
of
will
people
not judge you for
from staying
that.
at your place. So I'll give you that.
So why do you think Star Wars only works as
Compare
movies?
bartenders. They had BR.
Because ours purpose is it's an opera. Literally, you get the pointer in.
It's
Hold on.
It's a space opera. It needs to be shown on a big screen.
Yeah, and pretty much it shows pretty much all the strife from the beginning to the end, what the big story, what's going on, versus I got to give it up to Star Trek. It's pretty much a ongoing series that you have character development. Ours is, like I said, we only got maybe 2.5 hours to show what we're doing, how we're doing, how we fight. So we got to cut a lot of stuff about character development. Okay, you know this guy, we're fighting, they're fighting some more. What's the reason why they're fighting? It's very cookie cutter to the stream, but it's for a reason because we're pretty much on movies. If we were to translate into to a TV series, that might be different because example of Clone Wars is showing the showcase of it, but a live action one, it just depends on if it can be done and by a good director.
We have made some strides in live action and TV series in the past few years. We had the first animated Clone Wars series, which is fantastic, and we have the new one, which is hit and miss on some of its story arcs, but some of the story arcs are really, really good and has character development. But still, it's not as good as the Star Trek series sometimes.
So let's go to the Star Trek side. Your movies have been really spotty, but your TV shows have been pretty good. What do you attribute that to?
I apologize already for the whales.
Okay, yeah, the whales. I wasn't gonna go there because someone you might like it and throw something at me, but yeah,
that is actually one of the more beloved episodes.
It's an even number.
It's an even number. Yeah, 'cause the general idea is the even number ones were great and the odd number ones were not.
With the exception of
Con is
none.
Even number ones, yeah.
But Star Trek of 2009 was an odd numbered one, so
that one was pretty good.
There are a lot of Star Trek films. There are 11 of them, right?
It's pretty
as
much
opposed
gonna
to
go down
6
the
Star Wars films. And one of the Star Wars people said, that Star Trek has had a greater number of media. Of their genre, a lot of TV series, a lot of films, so it's actually kind of hard to compare the two in this regard.
I agree. I'm going to call it apples and oranges on this.
We all kinda
they
have to
really
agree with
focus
that.
on different media,
It is
so
an
I
apples and
really feel
oranges thing.
something either side can win. You're very strong at movies. We're very strong at TV.
Yeah.
It's good that they have more options with that. I mean, I wouldn't want to only watch movies or only watch television. I'd never get Walking Dead if I only watched movies.
Because I can say one thing is a space battle. So you saw like the good example of it with Episode 3, the beginning of it. It was a big major space battle. Seeing that, but it only lasted for so long. y'all guys, because the TV series, you guys had a Dominion War.
Yeah.
And they're actually sections, you see like almost half the episode, starships flying, ship blowing up, and it's like, this the time frame. It's like, I wish we had that much time on Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
I would say point to both sides.
My question for you guys is, why have the Star Trek movies not been nearly as good as the series?
Have you seen the new one? Because
The new one's good, but you know what? The new one throws everything out and restarts from scratch.
Yeah.
It made it relevant.
I think a lot of it.
It didn't throw out Enterprise.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when you're dealing with hourly episodic over long term, you get a set of writers that keep building the same milieu and they keep working across that same story arc. Even if it's different stories, it's still fundamentally across the same arc. Whereas when they did the movies, they try to break out something totally new and untested and untried. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Whereas
There's also
like
baggage problems, I would say, with that, where you have to try and please all the fans and try and make a story that new fans could get into. And that, it doesn't matter what your genre is, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, whether it's the X-Men movies and things like that. It's really hard to please all those fans that have been watching or reading for ages, and then also bring in new people. And that's why the new movie works so well, because they said, you know what, we're just going to pretend none of you have even heard of it. Star Trek, la 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 la, that doesn't even exist, in order to get new viewers in.
Yeah, I think the reboot was genius.
Yes, I agree.
It was really, really well done.
And I'm really hoping, for you guys' sake, and I mean this in 100% sincere honesty, that's what Disney does for you.
Yeah,
they have J.J. Abrams on it as well.
Yeah, so say guys, y'all, the only thing we got same.
We'll share them with you.
Yeah,
I want to see you
sharing.
Yay, sharing!
Yes.
So this
Star Wars
one,
phasers.
We have Star Piece. Yay!
Yay!
so this one goes to both.
You know, to quote Sulu on one of his videos, we need to join forces to go after the true enemy. Twilight.
No, we're not going there. We already did our Twilight Bash. That was a pretty good show.
Thank you, Twilight. Makes our fans look great.
I know, right?
Makes our fans look normal.
So this is going to be for the Star Trek guys to start with. But you can take the series beyond movies and TVs. There's board games, there's books, there's a whole expanded universe. Why do you think Star Trek has the better one of those?
I'll leave that to my resident game fanatic.
Well, the Star Trek universe.
Have you seen Jeff's game room?
No.
It's full of Star Trek games.
And Star Wars games, to be fair. However, the Star Trek games have a much longer history, and a lot of the things that were developed for the games eventually ended up in the actual on-screen media. Some of the games that were written by FASA Corporation back in the 1980s have been incorporated into bits and pieces of detail in the films. One of the things that I've always found interesting about Star Trek gaming is there's so many different ways to do it. In Star Wars, it seems that either you're a Jedi or you're flying a fighter against the Death Star, and the games tend to repeat those. In Star Trek, we have Starship combat games. We have games like FASA's old Star Trek Adventure, which is an exploratory game, almost a choose-your-own-adventure book with a space map. We have games that cover the combat side of things, games that cover the interpersonal and political side of things. There's all sorts of different ways to play Star Trek, right down to what we were speaking about before the broadcast, which was the Artemis Bridge Simulator. You can sit down with a group of your friends and laptops and play like you're on a Starship bridge. There's a lot of really neat things that you can do in the Star Trek gaming.
And to pick up with that, with the books, I grew up in science fiction fandom, and so I grew up reading a lot of the Star Trek books. I absolutely love them. I've still got some that are actually held together with tape at home that it would probably be embarrassing if I read them now, because anything you love as a teenager, you look at later and like, oh, really? I'm sure that all you Twilight fans out there are going to feel that way someday, too.
We hope.
Yeah. But
we can all pray.
It was nice because, the point of any expanded universe is if you're really, really into whatever the genre is, you can go and read a little bit more. This was before fan fiction, I think, had gotten as popular and whatnot, and it's a lot cleaner than fan fiction. And so I have a lot of really beloved memories of reading the tons and tons of very affordable Star Trek paperbacks that were out there when I was 13,
and
14,
we have
15 years old.
fan-written music as well. Jeff might even be able to sing one of these for us.
No.
Can you sing one?
Thank you. Let's not do that.
All right, so let's go to the Star Wars side. What about your expanded universe in books, games, everything that's not on screen?
Well, it's all the current expanded universe really started in 1991 with the Timothy Zahn books, which reinvigorated Star Wars for a lot.
Sidewinder, we can hear you.
He's sidewinding.
And it turns out now that was actually the beginning of when Lucasfilm said, no, we want to have one standard EU. Everything takes place in a single timeline. We're not going to be jumping around and saying that because there used to be the Marvel comics that would jump around, and we had freaking green rabbits.
What are green rabbits?
Jackson. You never read the Marvel comics back in the 80s? Han Solo smuggling buddy. Jackson, the green space rabbit.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
It really isn't making their
it's not helping you guys at all.
That's considered non-canon.
That is considered non-canon.
Yeah. I would hope.
Until Disney decides otherwise, since they own Marvel now.
Yeah.
But we've got the Dark Horse comics. We've got hundreds of books now that take place going all the way back from Knights of the Old Republic that takes place thousands of years before the original trilogy, now going up through, I think it's 45, 50 years?
It's actually longer than that.
As far as the books go, and the comics are going 150 years into the future.
Yeah.
So here's my frustration with your expanded universe. I hear about the expanded universe a lot from Star Wars fans. As soon as I start on anything about the whole princess and prostitute part, they're like, well, in the expanded universe. And if you have to read, what is it, you said hundreds of expanded universe books just to feel like you're getting a universe where women can play and minorities can play.
You don't have to.
Someone's not doing something.
Why are we going back to women again?
No one said you have to read hundreds of books.
It appears
But here's
that
the thing I gotta say to
expanded
counter
universe
that.
is like their own reboot, so that they could fix all the things that were wrong with the original.
Exactly.
Yeah, but let's face it, it's a pretty good expanded universe.
You go into the expanded
But if you're
universe.
asking which is better,
Yeah.
if they have to use their expanded universe as a band-aid for all the problems in the movies, whereas ours...
We don't have to use time travel as a band-aid on our shows.
It's not a band-aid, it's a
plot.
See, here's the thing.
It's an awful convenient plot device, like on several shows.
We never went back
The
in
thing
time.
with the Star Wars expanded universe is that it's just this. It's actually cut by Lucas Arts and Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
They actually keep a giant room full of the records, saying, "Hey, this cannot counteract with this." On some occasions, it does have some continuity errors, but it's
not really big
it's
ones.
more
honestly,
kept tight than the Star Trek one.
The Star Trek expanded universe has done almost the exact same thing at about the same time period. There were a whole lot of books a little earlier in like the 70s and 80s that were like, I don't know, Uhura's going to be on a planet full of cat people. Why not? And
I
then
read that one.
sadly, he knows I wasn't making that part up. So anyway, though, around the 90s as well, both sides stepped up and like, no, we got to rein this in. We got to make this make a little more sense.
Well,
I
I
don't
think
remember
that's
the name
in
of the
credit to
editor.
the fandom, because the fans came back and said, "Hey, you bunch of idiots, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, keep it all under control."
And
Yeah,
then with
I don't
that,
remember
you
the name
know,
of the editor, but one of them did take the reins, and at that point, instead of being able to just submit any, like, I think this would be a great Star Trek story, you had to actually keep it within the same universe and keep the continuity. So about the same time period of continuity.
like I say this for that though, that's just like mostly because the expanded universe, it did expand our fan base to say, well, I don't have to be Han Solo, Princess Leia. I could be this one character that was in a book, and then you got Mara Jade.
If you go to a convention and say, I'm an expanded universe character, you might as well be saying, I don't know, I just got some duct tape and made stuff
But here's the
up.
thing, though. Mara Jade is one of the most seen one that kind of recognized out of expanded universe. And then you got some of the people in the Jedi Order. It's like we expanded big time when we go into the expanded universe. It's like, yeah, we're rigid on our movies, but the expanded universe just blew everything up beyond that.
Well, but there's a bit of overkill with the Star Wars expanded universe. If you read enough of the EU, you will find that no one was in the Mos Eisley Cantina just to have a drink.
Yep.
Everyone in that scene is some epic leader of their people with some insane backstory 5 pages long on Wikipedia, and sometimes it just gets a little overwhelming. I mean, the Hammerhead guy wasn't just some freighter captain. No, he was the head of his tribe who'd lost his ship, and there was this great, huge story. The 2 girls smoking the hookah, yeah, they're Han Solo's ex-girlfriends, and they have all this huge thing that he did with Lando. no one was in the cantina just to have a drink, because the expanded universe has decided we have to name every single person that shows up on screen. The actor that has 5 lines at the beginning of Star Wars. You remember the stormtrooper officer. She'll die before she tells you anything. Holding her is dangerous. It'll generate sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate. That guy has 5 pages on Wikipedia because he's the only stormtrooper officer Darth Vader ever respected enough not to kill when he talked back to him. I saw that actor signing autographs.
But that's the point. He was signing autographs. He was known. That's a good thing.
And you mentioned games earlier, how you can only play as a Jedi or anything. That's not every single game. We have one of the greatest Star Wars games out there is Star Wars Battlefront, which lets you play as the nameless soldier fighting.
I have one thing to mention to you. Star Wars Dance Connect.
We get the ladies. That's all I gotta say. We got the ladies.
Hey, so I'm going to hand the expanded universe to you all simply off of your argument. Everybody has a story. As infuriating as it may be, there's a reason why they're there. They're not just faceless people in a crowd.
But
So this
sometimes
definitely
they
goes
are
over
just
here.
faceless people.
They're not
Although,
a red shirt that dies
you
in
guys do
episode
have Star Trek
5. You don't know
Catan,
who he was and what he did.
which I own, which is awesome.
We had the most interesting man in the world play a red shirt, and he's the one red shirt that lived through the entire series.
You're welcome.
You also have a male red shirt that was walking around in a dress. Thank you.
So,
Next generation.
What about the 3-breasted character in Jabba's palace?
Forrest is disgusting.
That's like a sci-fi staple. It's in Total Recall. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Why do we have to degrade the boobs? Can we do a show that doesn't degrade boobs, please?
I don't think it's degrading because there were 3 of them, which is better than 2.
All right, so
my point is actually
The more the merrier.
So I understand you have a new question for us, Gavin.
who started the last one? I forgot.
Doesn't matter. Just ask me a question.
All right.
Odd, even. Is it odd or even question?
It's here.
Who had the next question?
Weapons. Which side has the better weapons?
Do we even have
Star Wars.
Oh, boys.
Hold on, Skype guy. Who has better weapons?
Gotta love phasers, but let's face it, the lightsabers are probably the coolest sci-fi weapon out there. And you see kids out there playing with stuff, what are they doing? Lightsaber duels or phaser battles?
He has a point.
Am I playing with a tricorder? No, they're playing with a lightsaber. Sith or a Jedi.
I got one word for you. Oh God, my hand! Seriously, if that was an actual real weapon, that is the most impractical. Okay, you are in a universe that already has projectiles. Why are you using melee weapons?
Because it looks cool.
Look at it.
Oh yeah, and that's really productive in a war.
It actually is.
Looks so cool.
At least you can flank and not go.
And actually,
A lightsaber can deflect a lightsaber can
Jedi
deflect.
Masters of the Clone Wars completely owned by their clone soldiers when Order 66 went out.
They were caught off guard.
Yeah, and we can only block one bolt, maybe a couple of
they
bolts.
were caught at distance.
Sword. Come on.
Okay,
I mean,
at least we
Kai
did.
Mundi was a badass, and a bunch of clones with blasters took him down.
Yeah.
Because
Numbers. We can't fight against numbers.
Don't mix.
Remember, we're guardians, not what's called warriors.
If
Except
you
for
only
Sith,
have
then.
one of us and there's 20 stormtroopers, the odds
Someone's
are kind
gonna
of in
get lucky.
favor to stormtroopers unless somebody
I
gets
thought you were supposed to have the force for that.
That we do,
Can I
but
say something?
it's numbers.
And we're
And you know what?
limited on the
If we've
force.
if we, on the other hand, have a big rock and a phaser, numbers are on our side. Because we can
And
hide
our
behind the
people
rock
can build cannons out of logs and minerals they find
Yeah,
on the
Kirk
side.
did that.
But that was proven doesn't work right. It blows up the captain and every creature.
Not
You
according
had something to say
the
back
show.
there? It's like you're thinking about what to say.
Weapons. Okay, variety of weapons. You're complaining about 20 troopers and 1 Jedi Master. Let's see, Lieutenant Worf, and oh yeah, he took out at least 20 guys. With a bat'leth and a knife. Okay.
Bat'leth's a pretty cool weapon. You have to admit.
You know, you've got the various weapons for that. We've got the melee weapons. You have various deals of phasers,
What
mortar
they're really saying
weapons.
is our weapons aren't bright primary colors that can only attract small children.
Our weapons actually do what they're designed to do and kill and mutilate
You know
people.
what? You know what? Most of the Jedi that were killed during Order
They can
66
keep you
were caught
warm.
off
They can
guard.
cut doors open.
Limited in the first two.
I think really, when you get down to it, a Jedi has a lightsaber. Anyone can have a phaser.
He has a point.
Boba Fett had a lightsaber.
Blasters.
And he could use it effectively.
We got blasters. Same thing as phasers.
Not the same, because they're lasers. I could just have
They
a
are
mirror.
projectile energy weapons. It's the same. I'm sorry.
So our Skype, what do you want to say?
Anyone can have a blaster. In fact, many people prefer the blaster over the lightsaber. Look at the video game, Star Wars The Old Republic. How many people are playing as Jedi and how many people are playing as either Imperial troopers, smugglers, ones with the blasters and the melee weapons. And they're not just laser weapons. If you read on the technical manuals, most of them are phase energy weapons or plasma throwers, just like the phasers. And they even have stun sayings, although admittedly used very few times as opposed to Star Trek.
Yes, because you don't bother about taking prisoners. We're ruthless. We kill everybody.
Do the blasters have the versatility of the Star Trek phaser? In Star Trek on screen, not expanded universe, Boba Fett with a lightsaber, we actually see the phasers used to cut through walls and panels. We see the phasers used to heat up rocks to keep someone warm when they're being treated from an illness.
That opened a tauntaun to keep somebody warm.
You can also, using this phase, you have stun. You don't have to kill people.
Oh, yes.
And they can be used as a power source as well.
And as a power source to save your shuttlecraft.
But I gotta say this, for Star Wars, at least when we lose power, we can at least crash land our vehicles. We got breath regulators for breathing underwater. When it comes to, I guess, our phasers, y'all guys have this, I guess, special unlimited power on phasers. Ours run out of energy eventually. We got to reload.
Not true. The Type 2 phaser on setting 16 has 10, maybe 12 shots.
What is setting 16?
Setting 16
wow, that just sounded so nerdy.
Type 2 phaser, circa 2360.
Does that mean you're just vaporized?
You can vaporize about 10 cubic meters of solid rock, according to the writer's guide.
And they're complaining about a lightsaber cut through objects?
I know, really.
All right.
How unrealistic is that?
To top off the weapons.
The real point I would say is yours are prettier. There is no question that yours are prettier. And they definitely attract the little small children. They're like, yay, I like bright colors. But how functional are they?
Says the group that wears Skittles for uniforms.
But here's also something I want to say, and I'm going to be on skim water with this probably. Ours, if we make a mistake, whoops, well, we're just going to have to go on through it. Y'all have the scientific status of going, okay, let's do it this style, and then go for it. You guys have the strategist, we're the brutes.
Yeah.
Star Wars is mostly a universe at war.
Yeah.
You look at it. Most of the time, even in the expanded universe, there is a war going on somewhere.
I think a good example is like the Dominion War. This one, they have the actual troopers going against Jemadar, a character.
That's on our side.
I know, but I'm saying, I'm bringing it up for the reason it's like, with that hand-to-hand combat, guys were almost getting pwned by that. The Dominion, if it would have came to that gate, y'all would have been owned on that. So with us, we're constantly just fighting for that one middle part, and I think that's why I say our tech's.
So we're gonna say for sheer looks alone,
weapon to beat them all. Death Star blows up planets.
Yeah. So does the Xindi weapon, and that was invented very early in our timeline.
and I'm pretty sure it can't be destroyed by one guy.
Yeah, but ours don't have to be reloaded.
Well, then you have the board cube.
We actually got to recharge our.
So for sheer beauty aspect, it definitely goes to Star Wars. But for functionality, I'm debating because if you have to switch it in the middle of a war, it doesn't seem very functional.
That's why we don't use our stun setting. You got to switch to
You're
it.
not switching it in the middle of the war. You leave it on whatever setting you're expecting. Like if you're going into a battle.
So what happens if you accidentally walk out and it's on set to kill and you think it's on stun because you forgot yesterday because you were drunk and boom, you just kill your
Well,
best
you
friend.
weren't very well trained.
Yeah. I mean,
Which doesn't really
that's the
happen
same
coming out of Starfleet Academy.
That's like saying, oh, I wonder if I'm going to send somebody out with a paintball gun or an actual gun. I mean, that's the exact same level.
You have the option and it switches very quickly. Lightsaber, I don't think has a stun setting. It's like, oops, I cut his arm off.
It can be turned down for training in the Jedi Order.
Yes.
It's mostly for you don't kill your master while training how to be a Jedi.
And something earlier, someone made a comment about the bright primary colors of our uniforms. Why is it that the Jedi uniform makes you all look like you grew up on Tatooine?
We're trying to blend in. We're trying to regard.
All right.
We're not meant to stand out.
So you guys will get half the point for the actual functionality.
Jedi are a religious
All right,
order. They're supposed
our
to be
last
like
question.
monks.
This is on appeal, and he had a great way to put it. Come up to the mic and ask them your question about. This is the appeal question for both sides. We have about 3 minutes, so try to keep it under 3 minutes. What is it?
My question is on the fandom. If the Star Wars and Star Trek are appealing to fans as a series themselves, or as the support fan services that they have, such as I believe Star Wars is Hyperspace, is the official fan club, and Star Trek has Starfleet and other fan clubs that have been around.
All right, so we're gonna start with you guys.
My personal theory on it is I find Star Trek more appealing to just sit down and watch than Star Wars, because again, I feel like I can just plug myself into that universe very easily. I don't need the fan stuff. It's great to have, but I can enjoy it without having all of that. Whereas I don't really know anybody that's that really deeply into Star Wars that can be that deep into it without having that support network just to buffer them up. You guys?
Plus, count the number of people on each side here.
He's got you all there.
Some of our people got into car accidents.
No, the hyperdrive wasn't that fixed. You know that.
Star Trek
Hunter
fandom
jumps
has
and they
been a
can't
base
fly and they don't have the
Hold on.
The Star Trek fandom has been a base of operations for a very long time. I mean, I've got my operations officer for the Ark Angel Station is also regional coordinator for Texas, Louisiana for Starfleet.
So what is your website?
It's www.arkangelstation.com.
Okay.
Also, Starfleet International, SFI.org. But I would let her address, the actual fleet side of it for the fandom, because it's a massive.
I mean, we have for the members, we actually have an academy where you can take over 2,500 courses in everything, including Star Trek, but also the College of Harry Potter, James Bond, and even Star Wars.
Also, don't forget that Starfleet as an organization has chapters all over the world, in about 4,700 members at this point, and that each chapter is only required to have a certain number of members and an elected leader and vice president. Beyond that, you can do whatever you want for your chapter in Star Trek. You could be a group that reads Star Trek novels. You could be a group that watches the show. You could be a group that plays the games. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Yeah. So what about you guys?
Well, I guess I'll take on that one. But, I mean, I don't know about the Star Trek ones, but like with Star Wars, there's several organizations. We've got the 501st, which has well over 10,000 members worldwide and raises millions of dollars every year for various charities. And they have their sister organization, the Rebel Legion, which covers all the Rebel characters. There's the Jedi Assembly. There's the Dark Empire, which I'm a part of, and then there's Fan Force, which is people that don't want to dress up in costume or don't want to be forced into a group where it's all costumes, and they get together and they do stuff usually on a monthly basis or whenever they get together.
And give people the website for Fan Force here in Austin if they want to join.
Well, for the Austin Fan Force, we're on Facebook right now, so just look up Austin Fan Force on Facebook, and it'll pop up.
What's the Dark Empire?
Dark Empire is thedarkempire.org, and 501st is going to be 501st.com, rebellegion.com, and Fan Force itself, the main, is based off of theforce.net, which is a worldwide organization of various fan groups across the world that break down into small chapters in a lot of cities, and they just get together and just do stuff, and it doesn't have to be something big. They go to conventions, they'll get together and do charity events and all sorts of other stuff.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for coming out, but let's face it was a slaughter. The Star Trek guys really slaughtered you guys pretty well. I think it's simply because they had the numbers, but we're all for fist fighting. We are completely out of time, though. We have 30 seconds left. Thank you guys infinitely for coming. It was really fun. Thank you guys for coming. It was infinitely fun. Thanks for coming out.
Joining on to something.
And but you guys, you have lightsabers. You could just chop their hands off before they punch you, apparently, because that's what they said. Oh no, there goes my hand. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Fan Service. We'll be back next week with our summer movie season 2013 preview, and in 2 weeks is our day-long live South by Southwest special, which we'll have lots of filmmakers in. We have
and join us.
So you can RSVP those tickets for free on our website. They're on a per-hour basis, and the schedule of all of our guests is going up on our Facebook event, which is all right there on the same page. You'll see it. You won't want to miss this. It's going to be way too much fun. We'll see you guys next week.